House of Dragons, Game of Thrones. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I haven't watched an episode of it because I want to wait to kind of see, and then I like to binge watch things.
Okay.
I don't want to watch one episode and wait a week. It's 2022. I'm not doing that.
Isn't that what used to make shows great, though?
No, it's not. Actually, now we found out it's not. It actually made them way worse.
So you just like it?
Like I can watch more shows. Like again, like when, it's just something where I want satisfaction now. Well, but when it comes to that,
you didn't hang around on Sunday night waiting for the new episode of Entourage to come out.
Oh no! I'm not saying I didn't do that back then. What I'm saying is I didn't like doing that.
Okay.
I want it now. I'm JG Wentworth. Okay, I want my money now.
You want your money
now, man?
Yeah, but there's a show called The Peripheral on Prime.
On Prime?
And it's got the lead character, the female, has been in a ton of stuff. I just cannot remember any of its names.
None of it.
You see her, you're like, oh, I've seen her in like every movie ever. But I can't remember any of the names of the movies that she was in.
Of the actresses?
Of the actress, the lead. So basically what it is, it takes place like 30 years in the future. And VR is like a big deal. It's obviously advanced. But there's this new like type of VR where you just basically strap a helmet on and you're like in there. You can feel.
It's like Ready Player One.
Yes, but it's even more realistic than that. It's like you're there. Like you can feel pain. Like long story short, they're finding out now that it may not be VR. They may be in the future. Anyway, I'm not going to spoiler alert this whole thing. I'm just telling you guys right now.
Go ahead. I'm not going to watch it.
The Peripheral is really, really good.
So Chloe Grace Moretz, is that what you're talking about?
I think that sounds exactly like it.
She was in the Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Desperate Housewives.
Okay.
The Eye, The Poker House. 500 Days of Summer.
Yes,
Diary of
that's
a
her.
Wimpy Kid.
That's her.
That's what you're talking about?
That's 100% her. She's
No
been in
idea.
every movie
Any of
ever
those.
made.
Keep going. She was in Hugo.
Any of those movies at all? I haven't seen them.
seen
Dark
any.
Shadows. 30 Rock.
You haven't seen 30
30
Rock?
Rock sounds familiar. That's a show,
It's a
though.
show.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, she was in the remake of Carrie, the horror film Carrie.
That's right.
You see that one?
Not a big horror film guy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, not a big-
So would you even like this show then?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if there's VR in it,
It's right up your alley.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Ready Player One, I think, is one of Spielberg's greatest movies.
It's like a mixture of Tron and Ready Player One.
Jake's like, listen, sit down and open your eyes and watch this show.
Yeah, close your mouth, open your eyes, and shut your ears.
Have any of y'all watched House of Dragons? Have you watched House of Dragons?
Not yet. It's football season. I'm trying to do the work and trying to get the show. I'm excited for it. I'm gonna watch it.
Now you
Big
just
Game
make
of
me feel
Thrones
bad
fan.
about myself.
Huh?
Thanks.
We'll just.
I'm gonna watch it and we're gonna
Grow.
talk about it. We're gonna have lunch. We're gonna schedule a lunch and we're gonna talk about it.
I'm always,
I love when
down
you
for
schedule
lunch.
lunches. I love it. The World Series stage is set for Friday as the Astros host the Phillies. 6 teams remain unbeaten in college football, and we're going to break down our best and worst from a great football weekend from college to the NFL. I'm Jake Crane, and welcome to Crane & Company. As we barrel toward the back end of college football season, as tragic as that does sound, we'll all make our predictions and prognostications about who will be the teams that make the cut for the college football playoff. Now, it seems this year is as up in the air as it's been in quite some time. A lot of familiar names are still there, but there seems to be some new teams who want to get welcomed to the dance and flip the same script that we've seen virtually every year. Now, while we have an excellent finish to the 2022-23 season upcoming, imagine if we had the 12-team expanded playoff this year instead of having to wait until 2026. Now, I believe we'll only have to wait until 2024, but that's open for another day. Now, with the large group of competitive teams this year, the matchups would be more savory than a deep-fried turkey on Thanksgiving. And we'd have intriguing matchups from coast to coast and everywhere in between. Can you imagine a TCU-Tennessee game? They'd score more than Matthew McConaughey on Sorority Row. An Oregon versus Clemson matchup, followed by Oklahoma State taking on Michigan. The possibilities are almost as endless as the excitement. Now, I've made it known I think an 8-team playoff is the perfect number, but that's out the window. And even though 12 is the cap, in my opinion, before you start to harm the regular season, you can sign me up to be locked in for every huge playoff matchup. We might have to wait until 2024 to see these contests get played out on the field, but a boy can dream. And boy, is it a good one. I'm going to bring in my co-host.
Dream on.
Dream on.
Dream on.
Dream on, David. You keep dreaming all the way up there in the clouds where you're walking around. Former Michigan quarterback, current NFL free agent, and former Heisman candidate, David Cohn.
Call me.
Former Western State, Colorado receiver, wearer of brown jackets, doer of many things, scientist in his own mind, Blaine Crane. Gentlemen, it's Monday, which means another week is basically done for college football. It's going by.
Another week's upcoming.
Way too fast. I know another week's upcoming. I'm typically an optimist. I'm kind of caught in the purgatory of it right now because I'm excited. We're starting to see it play out. We're seeing who's really about it down here at the end when the pressure's on, but that does mean the season is waning. But where I want to start this year, okay, I've gotten to the point where I've convinced myself this is not the same rerun that we are seeing of every single year before this. Does that mean that Alabama's not going to end up making the playoff and it's going to be Bama, Clemson, Georgia, and Ohio State? No, nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen. But I'm looking at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Tennessee with a matchup where they opened up as an 11-point dog on the road at Georgia. That game's going to be really interesting, especially with the way Georgia's played lately. You look at some of these teams with one loss, Oregon, UCLA. You look at the Big Ten. Ohio State's undefeated. Michigan's undefeated. Penn State, bad loss at Michigan. You do get to host Ohio State. You could really rectify that loss against Michigan and throw this whole thing for a loop because imagine, and I'm not saying they will, but if Ohio State goes to Penn State and loses, and then Ohio State beats Michigan last regular season game.
It's very similar to the situation in the SEC right now.
Very similar. You could have chaos. We could actually have legitimate chaos throughout. So chaos in the SEC, chaos in the Pac-12, chaos in the Big 12, chaos in the Big 10. I am totally here for it. Now, we have a graphic of a 12-team playoff, what it would look like in our opinion right now. We didn't go straight off the AP. We took our top 12 teams. And just looking at it, Cone, it is absolutely dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and throw that bad boy up there.
There it is.
So I'm going to tell everybody, if you're on audio, all right, remember the first 4 teams get buys in the new playoff format. All right, now the 6 conference champions are going to be automatically in. They're going to be ranked by how good the conference is, or if they went undefeated. Obviously, those will be 6. Then you'll have your other 6 at larges. So here's what we got. All right, in the top left corner, Georgia's our overall 1 seed. They're getting a bye. They're in the same bracket as number 8 Oregon and number 9 Oklahoma State. So the first round matchup would be Oregon versus Oklahoma State. If you go down, the 4 seed Michigan gets a bye. They will be playing the winner of the 5 seed Clemson, playing the 12 seed Syracuse, a game we just saw 2 ACC teams. We put Syracuse in because when you compare them to Wake Forest, they both have a loss to Clemson. Syracuse's loss was on the road. Clemson had to come back and win it. Wake lost at home in a shootout, both great games. We decided to slip Syracuse in there. Long way to go. You go to the top right, Ohio State is the 2 seed. They get the bye. They would play the winner of Alabama and UCLA. Alabama would be the 7, UCLA would be the 10. That would be a hell of a matchup. And one, I believe we saw in the NCAA basketball tournament here recently. That's right, UCLA beat Alabama to go to the Final Four a couple years ago. Then you go to that 3 seed, Tennessee as the 3 seed right now, getting the bye, taking on the winner of TCU and Ole Miss, the 6 and 11 game. That right there, guys, that you can't lose. There's no way to lose with this.
Yeah.
Blaine, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I know the bottom right, there's going to be 1 million points scored in those 3 games. The thing about me is I still think Alabama makes this 14 playoff. I'm taking Alabama to beat Ohio State. And I think it's an easy walk-in for Georgia, and I think Michigan comes out on top. I don't think – you really look at this Clemson team. Do you think – I mean, if they played Syracuse again in a neutral field, who are you taking in that game?
I'm gonna
take him between who?
I'm gonna take Clemson.
Syracuse to Clemson.
I'm gonna take Clemson for this reason, and I don't want to take anything away from Syracuse. Clemson played about as bad as they could from a turnover and bad decision standpoint. DJU looked like old DJU. You're going in the 5, you get basically tackled for a loss that wasn't really a sack, fumble it, Syracuse goes and picks it up and runs it for a touchdown. You're throwing interceptions in the red zone. Clemson played about as bad as they could play and still found a way to win the game. Guys, I think they turned it over 4 times, maybe 5. You have no business turning the ball over 4 times and winning. I know it was at home. That's probably what got him over the hump. But on a neutral site, I don't think Clemson plays that bad. And I think Syracuse kind of gave out their bag of tricks with Garrett Schrader and the offensive coordinator, Robert Anae, using that true quarterback run game. Q power read, what we talked about to make it 11 on 11. I thought that was a great game plan going in. I thought Clemson adjusted, and Syracuse didn't have an answer for the Clemson adjustment on defense. And also, from a roster standpoint, Clemson just has more depth, and gravity took over there. But what I like, Cone, what I like about this is the diversity of the styles that we would get out of this.
And that's fun. That's fun.
So, like, bottom left, I think like Michigan, Clemson, and Syracuse, that would be probably your most defensive-heavy side of the bracket or corner of the bracket. I think you'd get more offense out of the Georgia, Oregon, and Oklahoma State side. Then the bottom right is obviously a Globetrotters game. How many can you outscore the other team? Can you take the over in every one of those games? And guys, I'm going to be honest. I think the top right may be the second most high scoring. UCLA and Alabama. I think that game could total around 80 points, as crazy as that sounds. That feels like a 52, 38, 52, 42 type game where Alabama wins. I don't think UCLA could stop Alabama, but I think UCLA could score a lot of points on that Alabama defense with Charbonnet and DTR and Bobo and the way they're able to move the pocket and move the launch point and challenge you in every level of the secondary.
Is this the most parity we've seen right now in college football?
Well, since when?
In a while.
I think you got to put.
Let's
when's the last
really
time,
go
right?
back. Can we even remember? With that there not being the 3 or 4 teams or hell even 2 teams that we knew was going to make it to the national championship. Like, you can go back before the playoff era, I guess.
Yeah, in the BCS era, you were getting this a lot more, right? But
well, you only had 2 teams.
Exactly. With the playoff. But the differences in styles, I think, is an interesting point, and it's something that would set this apart from an NFL playoff, right? Now, one of the arguments for the 4-team playoff is that college football is the only sport where the very first weekend of games matters, okay? And I think that is a good point. But what matters more is playing competitive games week in and week out and allowing a team to get better throughout the season. So let's just take the Oregon and Georgia game for a second. Oregon loses 49-3, gets blown out in that football game. They could have very easily scheduled Portland Technical College week 1, and they'd be undefeated right now. We'd be talking about them being undefeated, but we got to see, now it wasn't a great football game, but we got to see a better matchup that could have led to a good football game in week 1 because of that, and Oregon has gotten better each week, right? So I don't think they should be penalized for scheduling a tougher non-conference. If you allow for a 12-team playoff like this, you will see more and more tougher non-conference games, which I think could be important. Now, we'll never get to a situation in college football where 30 teams can win the national championship, but we don't need to. Imagine just 12. Imagine
And
just
it gets
12.
played out on the field. That's my thing.
That's the thing. Now, I'll stand by 2 points. The 4-team playoff system solved the problem it was created to solve, the BCS and the pre-BCS era where more than 2 teams could win the national championship. I don't need to tell you guys about 2004 Auburn. They have a great case to make. And since the playoff has been created, we haven't seen a situation where more than 4 teams can win the championship. So if you're saying in this situation, it's still going to be Georgia and Alabama and the Buckeyes and all that, I understand that. But you've always made a good point that if you allowed this to play out over several seasons, you would see more parity in recruiting.
Yes.
And then imagine if you were to get more 5-stars who are all of a sudden committing to Syracuse, right? Or committing to go play at UCLA. Then all of a sudden we could see a situation where you could just throw a dart at any one of these 12 teams and maybe they have a shot to win the championship.
That's my thing. I always say it's like fixing an economy. There's no light switch. There's no quick flip. There's no way to be able to do it quickly. It takes time. You don't turn around an economy in 2 days. You don't create some sort of parity. And we're not saying there won't be years where it kind of regresses back to where it is. It's just every year is different, especially in the game of college football. But like you said, imagine being able to be a recruiter from Syracuse and being able to go into the living room and saying, hey, guys, guess what? We made the college football playoff last year. You want to play in the biggest moments? You can come to Syracuse and do that. Hey, TCU. Hey, you ain't got to go to Texas to play in the college football playoff. Come to TCU. We'll be fine. UCLA, we want a resurgence. We want to be relevant. We want to be one of the big dogs again. Well, heck, we made the playoff. We're going to the Big Ten. Why would you not want to come here? So I think it's not, this isn't inclusive because this is earned. I hate the word inclusive and equity in college football for each team. This is earned. You earn the right to be here. You earn the right to play in this game. And it's one game. A lot of things can happen in one game. So I'm really, really excited to see it. And it would definitely be epic. But I'll tell you what else is epic. Epic will. Now, we all know sports are great. We love sports. It takes up most of my time. But there are things that are way more important than sports. And one of those is protecting yourself and your family by getting a will. And it's really, really easy. And if you're going to choose a company or a place to get it done, that's Epic Will. All right. It lets you decide who will raise your kids if something happens. All right, this is a big deal, and it's your responsibility as a parent, which is why we at the Daily Wire have partnered with Epic Will. So take 5 minutes, go to epicwill.com, use promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to save 10%. But more importantly, use promo code BOOSTER to be accountable to me, everybody, like for myself, it's me being accountable. It's you being accountable. All right. I know who you are. You're driving around in the car right now. You're getting ready. You're making breakfast, getting ready to take the kids to school, whatever. Take 5 minutes out of your busy day. I know a lot's going on. You'll want to do this, okay? And I'm going to be checking at epicwill.com. All right, it's $119. That's it, and it only takes 5 minutes. No excuses. Get it done. You will sleep better, and it will set yourself up and your family up for the best possible situation if the worst situation happens. That's epicwill.com.
It's too important.
Too important.
Too important.
Wait, and you've started a family. I mean, you got a brand new family. Ace, obviously, Baby Cone, the betting extraordinaire. You guys are growing your family by the day. I'm obviously getting married in May. Blaine.
Hey, what's up?
You're
Yeah,
alive.
just me, guys, all alone. This is great.
All right, speaking of that, let's go to the Booster Club.
All right,
On
let's
that
go.
high note, let's go to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to Stevie J with a $20 donation.
Stevie J.
This, what he says, why don't we just do away with conferences and just let everyone play everyone? Conferences seem to be holding teams back with this current format. What do we think, fellas?
Conferences aren't, but I do like getting rid of divisions in the conferences. All right, I like the conference format. I like the way it sets up. I like the regionality of it. Everybody, the season isn't long enough for everybody to play everybody. If you're trying to get every game possible to find out who the best team is, it's not basketball. It's not baseball. You just can't play that many games. I think we need to have conferences. Now, does that mean it doesn't turn into 2 super conferences down the road? Nothing would shock me. I think eventually we will get to 4 20-team conferences. That's where it looks. 4 conferences to 16 to 20 teams. I don't know exactly what the target point is there, but I like conferences. I don't like divisions. The whole point of scheduling in a conference, because it's impossible to do it league-wide, the whole point of scheduling is to have everybody play everybody home and away through a 4-year career span. By taking away divisions, like similar, we're seeing it now, right? Pac-12, done. We're seeing the SECs probably moving away from divisions. Hopefully the Big Ten, we look at the Big 12. I think we'll see conferences without divisions across the board soon, but like the SEC, for example, even add in Texas and Oklahoma. You add that 9th conference game, because it's 8 conference games right now. You add that 9th conference game, you don't have divisions. Every team would play every team home and away through a 4-year career span. That, to me, is the whole goal of scheduling, and it makes the most sense.
All right, let's go to Colleen Houston with a $9.99.
Colleen, go Notre Dame.
Peacock.
All right, so yeah, making good on my promise to donate a Peacock subscription for Jake and Cone.
Yes.
It will never happen.
Now y'all no longer have an excuse to watch Notre Dame games, and you can go watch The Office. Go Irish.
I'm not getting Peacock.
Listen, at first, when I saw this, because I wasn't buying Peacock to watch Notre Dame play UNLV. Now, I had UNLV plus 28.5. They covered. Good weekend. We'll get to that. But I wasn't going to pay it to watch Notre Dame play UNLV. But the minute during the Sunday recap in the chat that Colleen Houston said all the shows from The Office are on there, and Reed could watch all the Bravo shows, it's a win.
I already got The Office on Blu-ray, though, for Darby Lou for Christmas.
Well, okay, well, look, tomato.
But
Tomato,
I
tomato.
promise to always watch Notre Dame when they're on a television.
So how much you
screen where
think
I
you
can
paid?
see
How
it.
much you think you paid for that Office Blu-ray?
I already ran the math on this at Christmas.
Oh, you did? Of
I
course
ran
you did.
all the
You're
math
100
on
years
this,
old.
And I said, at what point do I break even on the $6
To
a month
Peacock? Did you do like a
I was like,
Peacock
I don't want to
analysis?
pay Peacock money. I don't believe in their mission. I don't believe in it. But I believe in the Office.
Well, I didn't
mission
look
to
that
pay
deep.
the DVD, and I didn't know that Notre Dame was going to be exclusively on Peacock. I should have guessed. I should
Yeah.
have guessed. But I promised Colleen.
God forbid
always
they be on
say
ESPN.
nice things about Notre Dame when they deserve to be.
Yes.
When they deserve to have those things
Colleen,
said.
you're a great person. Now, Cone, I did not read Peacock's mission statement. I don't know exactly
You
what
gotta
they're
go. You
behind.
gotta deep dive.
But the way
You didn't?
But the way you're describing it, I may have to backpedal like Eli Apple when he's getting absolutely cooked like eggs on a
Peacock is
griddle.
owned by who? NBC.
Yeah, I think it's owned by the Russians.
Yeah, honestly, what's the difference? Let's go to let's go a couple things here. One, Shapiro 2024 says, Cone, what are you ranked in Rocket League?
Not high.
Not high.
Hey, not as high as in Paperboy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Paperboy, the
Yeah.
old
Clearly,
NES.
you're goated.
Look, Cone walks down the street and people come up to him. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, aren't you the guy that finished 7th on Paperboy?
They have said that. That one guy did say that
Yeah.
one time.
That one guy did.
I'm not great at.
It's always great when your uncle
I'm
visits.
not great at Rocket League. I don't play a lot of new video games. Don't know that much about them.
Mm-hmm.
But Rocket League is a phenomenal.
Rocket League
Yeah.
is
a
fun.
great video game.
I'm Diamond 3. Come see me. All right.
Diamond
Brett,
3, is that good?
it's pretty good. Brett Alter 1929 says, hashtag Ask Cranico, thoughts on Dak's return?
We're going to talk about best and worst in the NFL. I'm not going to judge Dak based off one game. It was against the Lions. I thought he had a little bit of rust. It was good to see them run the ball with some success. You know, Zeke got banged up a little bit in that game, was able to come back. If they would have lost that, it would have gotten really weird in Dallas with Cooper Rush, you know, with the win streak. I know they did lose to the Eagles the week before on the road. That was a tough matchup. Dak, I think, is going to be fine. I think he's going to be Dak. I think he's going to be the Dak that we're used to. I think he's going to be the Dak that we always see. But that Cowboys defense, and I had him on fantasy. I'm telling you right now, it's not just Micah Parsons. It's not just Trevon Diggs. Van Der Esch is staying healthy, and they are getting some big-time play from the front seven to the back end. I really, really like the Cowboys defense. I think it's the best one statistically they've had since like 1973. That's going to be the key for the Cowboys. The offense, with the weapons they have, with CD, you get Gallup back, obviously Zeke, obviously Tony Pollard. That offensive line's been beat up, but they should be good enough. I really feel like when you get to the playoffs, when it really, really matters, these solo games with the way this defense is playing, the Cowboys could make a little bit of noise.
What a time for him to come back.
What a time.
Lions at home, you get the win. Chicago at home next game. That's very winnable. Then you go to Green Bay. Green Bay's not looking great. They will go to the Vikings after that. But you had already gotten wins over a Cincinnati team that's surging right now, a Giants team, which that's their only loss at this time, and you got a win over the Rams. So you'll still have Philly at home. They'll obviously go to Tennessee and a couple other big games in there. But what a great time for him to return.
It is. It's going to be very interesting to see, too, how will they continue to try and get CeeDee Lamb activated? Because that was one of the pluses with Cooper Rush, was he was finding CeeDee Lamb everywhere. But again, kind of the hidden guy in all this is a guy we don't talk a lot about on the show. He doesn't get talked a lot about when we bring up tight ends, is Dalton Schultz. You're seeing Dalton Schultz become the security blanket for the Cowboys, which will open up everything else.
All right, Nola P said it should never be, I'm talking about the playoff here, it says it should never be more than 8 teams. Should just start with 6 and see how that goes for a few years. 12 is too many and puts a hinder on the best regular season in sports.
I'm with you 100%. If you've been watching this show, I've been saying that since we talked about expanding the playoff. To me, 8 is the perfect number. You have the 5 conference champions that are automatically in, and then you have 3 at-larges. We talked about the 12. It looks cool, but to me, that is the cap where you start affecting the regular season. I'm with you on that, because that's what I'm worried about the most. And it's not that the regular season games won't be good, because by adding teams the end of the regular season, some of those games become way more important. Now, if you're a team on the outside looking in, that game against Kentucky isn't just the difference between you maybe going to a really nice bowl game or just an average bowl game. That could be the difference in you getting to the playoffs. What I worry about is having to eliminate regular season games, because there's 2 things that are going on right now. Conferences are adding teams. So what does that mean? When conferences add teams, you have to add games. A la the SEC, you're adding 2 teams, probably going to go from an 8 conference game in season schedule to a 9 conference game in season schedule, which takes away a big game from the non-conference on the front end. If I'm playing a 9-game SEC conference schedule, I'm not scheduling Michigan week 1. I'm not scheduling Clemson week 1. I'm just not doing it. So you have that, you may lose the big-time non-conference games. Also, by adding teams to the playoff, eventually you're having to add games to the whole amount of the season. So you're having to play more games as a player, which if the playoffs makes the money we think it's going to make, they're not going to eliminate playoff games. They'll start eliminating regular season games. Remember, college football used to be an 11-game regular season, then it got moved to 12. I just worry that the more teams we add to the playoff from 12 and up is going to start affecting the amount of regular season games, not the quality of regular season games. That's the difference.
Well, the downside of scheduling a tough non-conference opponent is you have to play another tough game. But the upside is you get a boost in strength of schedule, right? And now with an extended playoff, that one loss doesn't kill you, just like what I was saying with Oregon and Georgia. So I'm starting to get more on board with the 12-team playoff. I really can't see it, especially if we get this scenario where the first round is on a college campus.
Yeah, that's a huge part.
That is going to help so many of these universities. Imagine a first-round playoff in Tuscaloosa or in Auburn or in Athens or Ann Arbor. Let me make a case real quick for our 12-team playoff at the 11 and 12 spot, because I think we had Ole Miss and Syracuse, 11 and 12. What do you think right now about Penn State and Southern Cal?
Well, the great part, those were the 2 that we struggled with. And when you look, obviously USC lost to Utah. Okay, Utah, we know they went down to Florida and lost. They've had a little bit of struggles this year. They do look like they've turned it around somewhat. When we were comparing losses, and the great part about Penn State is it's going to work itself out. They play Ohio State this weekend. You beat them, well, welcome on into the dance. You lose that one, that's your second loss. You're pretty much out the door, especially not being able to win that division with losses to Michigan and Ohio State. The USC one was a little bit more difficult to me because when I look at USC and Syracuse, all right, let's compare. You have to put Syracuse in there. Identical records. What's USC's loss? To a highly ranked Utah team, but they're not ranked as highly as Clemson. And USC did go on the road. Syracuse did go on the road. Ole Miss, your one loss is at LSU. I can understand the argument to put USC ahead of Ole Miss. That's kind of where we went back and forth. I don't buy the argument of putting USC in front of Syracuse. The Penn State one's going to work itself out. It's the Ole Miss one a little bit that we talked about and we went back and forth on. That was the biggest one, which again, Ole Miss hosts who? Very soon?
Alabama.
But I believe Alabama and LSU both have a bye week this week, and then Bama goes to LSU.
Yep.
And if LSU wins that one, you got to slide them up. Because right now, you look at LSU, that loss to Florida State is the only reason that we didn't put LSU in front of Ole Miss. Even though Ole Miss lost to them, it was on the road. It's kind of a balancing act there, but it's going to work itself out.
Well, Florida State, and you got whooped by Tennessee.
Yeah,
you got
at home.
At home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, 40-13. So, I don't know how they really make it out of that. But they could win the West, especially as the way Jane Daniels played the other day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. LSU could be a two-loss team if they beat Bama, that you have to slide in there.
Into the West?
Into the top 12.
Top 12. Yeah, for sure. Let's go to Caleb Rydon, hashtag Ask Crane Company. How bad does Tom Brady coming back look now?
We're going to get to it.
That's a great segue. That was not set up. Yeah, that was great. Let's go ahead and get into our best and worst, and let's start with the NFL.
You do want to start with NFL?
Yeah, let's start with NFL, then we'll get to college. My best, guys, we asked a question before the year, and everybody across the country was screaming it from Solo Cup tied to a string, from Solo Cup tied to a string. Who would be hurt the most with Tyreek Hill leaving? Would it be Tyreek Hill with the Dolphins? Would it be the Kansas City Chiefs? Looks like it's somewhat of a win-win right now, that there's some superlatives to both sides, especially after the Dolphins coming off. While it wasn't a beautiful win last night against the Steelers, you did get Tua back. You were able to win the game, and we see Tyreek's really involved. Guys, the Kansas City Chiefs is my best because they have more explosive plays without Tyreek Hill than they had with him.
Why?
Why does that happen? One, the offensive line is better. They're just better. They're better in pass pro. They're better with running ability. I love the Pacheco kid they got, who I believe played at Utah.
Man,
he started ahead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is turning into James White, like prime James White, when we saw with Tom Brady, more by the day. He's like a specialist in the red zone that they use. They're using Pacheco to be that ground and pound, dirty back that's going to run through arm tackles. But Travis Kelce is so elite at tight end. His route running ability to be that size, to be able to get in and out of breaks, to have that type of body control and be able to catch the ball away from his body is just outstanding. Patrick Mahomes can throw it in the crowd at any time. But who has come on? Who's really come on the last 3 weeks? Juju Smith-Schuster. He's different than Tyreek, obviously not as scatty, but I tell you what, you talk about yards after catch, you talk about being able to run through contact, you talk about being able to catch through contact, be able to turn a 3-yard gain into a 6-yard gain, and a 6-yard gain into a 25-yard gain. Juju Smith-Schuster is starting to figure it out. But there's another guy, Cone, if you want to rewind the tape the last week that we said the Chiefs have to start getting involved to be able to help give them that other scat back aspect outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the red zone. Mecole Hardman Jr. And what did they do yesterday? He scored on 2 jet sweeps and had caught a touchdown pass. They're getting him involved in the same way that they got Tyreek involved a little bit on those gadget plays. He's not an every down guy. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and run 30 hitches and run 10 slants and give you 12 catches for 125 yards. He's more of a specialist. They are using their weapons accordingly. Everybody poured money on the Niners because Christian McCaffrey went over there. I could not have taken the Chiefs faster for plus money at -2.5 because they looked about as dominant as I've seen a Chiefs offense. And oh yeah, you got Valdez-Scantling running down there as well. I mean, they've got more weapons right now than just about anybody.
So you're saying they had more explosive plays than they did last season with Tyreek Hill?
They're average. They're on pace.
6 years.
They're on pace. I'm talking about from last year. Because again, I'm not gonna. I don't want to go back 15 years here. I know Tyreek hadn't been in the league that long, but from last year to this year, they were on pace for more explosive plays. And to be honest with you, it may be they are on pace for more explosive plays than they ever had with Tyreek Hill, but I believe the stat I was looking at was compared to last year.
Okay. My best from the NFL is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Man.
I mean, look, this team on offense struggled at the beginning of the year. They couldn't block anybody. Joe Burrow, in a lot of situations, looked like a deer in headlights. We knew that he had the potential to figure it out because they had all the weapons necessary. This is a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. Boy, did they figure it out. Let me read you a little something here. Joe Burrow from yesterday against the Atlanta Falcons, 34 of 42, 481, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a 138.2 passer rating.
That's insane.
Tyler Boyd, 8 catches for 156 and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 8 catches for 130, 2 touchdowns. Guys, that's incredible. Now, they only rushed for 78 yards.
You don't have to when you're throwing for 500 yards.
Exactly, and they were put in a situation there where they just really picked that Falcons defense apart. But if you're a Bengals fan right now, boy, you have to be excited looking at that.
T. Higgins, too. You didn't even mention T. Higgins.
T. Higgins.
Hayden Hurst at tight end.
T. Higgins had 5 catches for 93 yards.
I mean, you shouldn't be surprised by this, though. I mean, this Bengals team.
Well, Tyler Boyd doesn't go off like that. Tyler Boyd's been your third down blanket. He ain't gone off. That's the first time I've seen Tyler Boyd go off like that in a while. If he's doing that, and T. Higgins, who has had a great year, if he can stay healthy, with Jamar Chase, who is now just remembering, because last year he just freaked out the whole year. Kind of took him a little bit getting into this year. Now he's freaking out. Who do you cover? Who do you double?
Yeah.
Who do you double?
And this was a 3-3 Falcons team.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't like an
the Bengals are a pick your poison type of team. You know, like on defense, what are you going to do? I mean, you double Jamar, you got T. Higgins. You double T, you got Jamar. You try to stop both those guys, so you got TB and Tyler Boyd.
Or Joe Mixon.
Or Joe Mixon at back. Or you got Hayden Hurst, who's just steadily come along. What a great pickup. And Hayden Hurst, too. I know they went that C.J. Uzomah, I believe, last year.
Yeah, who's with the Jets now.
With the Jets now. You bring in Hayden Hurst, who's a phenomenal player. But my best is the Seahawks, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the Seahawks are slowly turning into a problem in the NFL. It's not like Geno Smith had a phenomenal game. Kenneth Walker, that tells you how good he was on the Michigan State.
You want to talk about Michigan
team
State? You know what's crazy? Watching Kenneth Walker, doesn't Michigan play Michigan State this weekend?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Really makes me want to take Michigan regardless of what it is. Like, after watching how good Kenneth... I know. Look, you can wrestle with your demons over there if you want. But what I'm saying is, after watching how good Kenneth Walker is, it makes me want to put all the money I have on Michigan to cover. I don't care what the number is, because he is that elite. I want to go back to the Bengals for 1 second. The difference is the offensive line.
Yep.
It's protection. Joe Burrow, for the first time in a while, including last year where they made it to the Super Bowl, looks comfortable in the pocket because he feels like he can trust the offensive line. And guess what? He's getting the ball out a little bit quicker, getting to the check down a little bit quicker. He's living with the hitch to set up the hitch and go. He's living with the slant to set up slow go, things like that. But Blaine, is this Pete Carroll's best coaching job in a while?
So far.
Yep.
I mean, so far, you got to give him credit. You got to think DK Metcalf had 1 catch.
And had to go out in the
12
cards.
yards.
Hurt, right?
Got hurt. And you still dropped 37. Kenneth Walker had 160 rushing yards. And this Chargers defense, no slack of a defense. I know they're somewhat banged up a little bit, but they still got guys running around on this field on defense who are absolutely phenomenal. And one thing about Seattle is Pete Carroll always wants to run the ball. That's what Pete wants to do. With Russell, they're a big play action team, but Russell's gone. You got Geno in there now, and they're running the football. They're kicking people's ass between the tackles. Kenneth Walker had 6 yards. I think he averaged 5.7 to carry in the NFL, buddy. That is no joke.
He sees it different. He plays at a different speed. It's not like a warp speed like Tyreek Hill. He just plays at a different speed. His angles aren't normal angles. It's different. It's you have long division, then you have algebra. Kenneth Walker's algebra when he's running. I do want to say this. So I think there's a common misconception about Pete Carroll, because if we think about Pete Carroll, still the first thing I think about isn't the Seahawks. I think about USC. What was USC? High flying, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, offensive numbers crazy. You would think Pete Carroll's like a Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
He's more like a Belichick than anything. Like, he really wants to run the ball. When were the Seahawks good? When they were pounding the ball with Marshawn Lynch, running play action, and had the Legion of Boom on defense. That's who Pete Carroll is. And this Seahawks team, it feels like the Seahawks and the Falcons are two teams that are kind of playing, and I guess it's gotten this way with the Giants and the Jets. You're kind of playing with nothing to lose. Like, nobody believes in us anyway. Well, like, nobody believes we were supposed to be any good anyway. Why can't we go out there and be good? If I'm Marcus Mariota and the Falcons, why not? Why not run our quarterback a bunch? Hell, I mean, if I'm the Seahawks, Geno Smith, people left him for dead. DK Metcalf, he's not going to want to play. He knows how bad the roster is. We know how bad Seattle's roster was coming in the season. Tyler Lockett, continues to be one of the most underrated receivers in the National Football League. He's done it feels like forever. The only time I've seen Tyler Lockett screw up is when he dropped a touchdown pass to beat Auburn at Kansas State, but he screwed up in the best way.
Pete Carroll has cemented himself as an all-time great coach, and if Brian Daboll for the Giants wasn't freaking out this year, I think Pete Carroll would be a Coach of the Year candidate, no doubt. And they won the draft. That's the thing. They won the draft, with Charles Cross in the first round. Their two starting tackles came from this draft, right? Kenneth Walker from this draft. They got corners that are playing.
Them and the Jets really won.
And look at them. The Jets and the Seahawks both, they have multiple stars, like 4 starters apiece from the draft this year. Yeah. That's guys you're not paying a ton of money to who've come in and they're contributing right away. That's significant. And then we can't talk about the Seahawks without talking about what Geno Smith is doing. Mm-hmm. Guys, this guy is leading the NFL in completion percentage right now. He's slinging the ball all over the yard after 8 years in the league, 9 years in the league, has figured it out. That just tells you a change of scenery is sometimes good for a quarterback. You see what Marcus Mariota is able to do in Atlanta right now. We saw Tannehill leave the Dolphins and go to the Titans. He's not an elite quarterback, right? But they found a new home and they're playing good football.
Without a doubt, and I know we talked about the Jets. My worst, the Jets are sitting at 5-2. Robert Saleh's done an unbelievable job with that team. Zach Wilson's still figuring it out a little bit. The defense and special teams are phenomenal. But my worst is Elijah Moore for the Jets. Mm-hmm. If you're a guy that's been, and I know the NFL and college are way different. You can't compare them in the way business is handled. If you have been in the NFL for 5 years, you've been an all-pro a couple years, you've cemented yourself as a dog, I feel like you've earned the right to request a trade. Elijah Moore has played, less than 25 games in the NFL, has had some good games, hasn't been a breakout player. You're part of one of the best stories in the NFL with the New York Jets. You're 5-2, and you're going to request a trade because you're not getting the ball enough and you're sitting out. This to me, it's kind of a society. You look at society nowadays, and it kind of is like that. It doesn't matter about the team. It's about me. I want my numbers. Elijah Moore, shame on you, man. The team needs you. Offensively, they need another game breaker. You're unbelievably talented. We saw it at Ole Miss. We've seen it in the NFL. You've had flashes. But it just goes back to show the selfish nature of Elijah Moore. You're not even with your team. You're watching the game from the house. That they're having to go out there and gut it without you. But this is the same guy who, against Mississippi State, lifted up his leg to pretend to pee in the end zone, got a 15-yard penalty, and cost them the Egg Bowl. There's a lot of selfishness in Elijah Moore. There's a lot of stuff. You've done nothing. You've done nothing in the NFL to earn this right. You haven't. You have the ability to be a dog, but you're still a puppy in the yard. You're still a puppy. If I'm the Jets, good riddance. And if I'm another team, why would I want Elijah Moore on my team? Oh, well, I guess when it's going bad, as long as you get your numbers, that's fine. That's fine. But when it's going good and everybody's eating and we're winning in a team sport and you want to cry and complain and not play, shame on you, Elijah Moore. Shame on you. And it's just a bad look. Maybe he's getting some bad advice. Maybe there's people in his ear that he's listening to that he shouldn't. But you haven't done enough to be able to request a trade. And if I'm the Jets, I couldn't get your ass out of New York fast enough, and don't come crying when it all comes crumbling down.
The worst in the NFL to me this weekend is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A 21-3 loss to the Carolina Panthers. They're selling off all their assets. They're losing to P.J. Walker at quarterback. They don't even score a touchdown. Guys, this is as bad as it gets. And we can talk about, the offensive line isn't great. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Everybody needs to shoulder the blame from this. Tom Brady needs to take blame for this. Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, all of them. It's playing out right before our eyes. And to me, it's just not good enough when you can't even score a touchdown. And it's not like Tom Brady just forgot how to play football. He led the league last year in yardage and in touchdowns. I think this is a great example of when you don't have a stable home front, you carry that into your profession, right? Now, I don't know what's going on with him personally. Obviously, there's rumors swirling around all over the place. But right now, it's just they're not getting the job done. Even on the first play or the first drive yesterday, you saw Mike Evans drop the touchdown.
That set the tone.
That set the tone.
You could have almost, in my opinion, put the Panthers away on that play. Because the Panthers had every excuse, every single excuse in that game to say, you know what? Christian McCaffrey's gone. Baker Mayfield's hurt. Sam Darnold's hurt. We're starting P.J. Walker. They had every excuse to lay down and let the Bucs roll over. It was like that play gave them life. Like maybe we're meant to win this game. And Cone, they just whipped their ass up front. I mean, Fournette couldn't even get started. The Panthers wanted that game more. And if I'm a Bucs fan, the thing that worries me the most isn't that Mike Evans dropped that pass, isn't that Tom Brady made a few questionable decisions, isn't that the offensive line didn't look good and the defense gave up 21 points to a unheralded Carolina offense. Let's just put it that way. It's that it seemed to me like the Panthers felt like they deserved to win that game more than the Buccaneers. And one of the best traits of Tom Brady is he elevates everyone around him to operate at the same competitive level that he operates at, which is the peak of the peak. You did not see that from the Buccaneers. That's the most worrisome thing to me.
46 yards rushing. Now, I know Tom still threw for 290 and had a 66 completion percentage, but he put the ball in harm's way more than we've grown accustomed to see Tom Brady doing. And here's the schedule, boys. Ravens next. Then Rams. Then Seahawks. Okay. Then Browns. I mean, the Browns have been playing good football too. I mean, you could lose all 4 of those games. So here the Bucs sit at 3-4, somehow still first in the NFC South because that division is weak, and really the NFC, writ large is not strong. So they could figure out a way to still make the playoffs with this team, which you don't want to play Tom Brady in the playoffs, especially as this wide receiver core gets healthier and maybe the offensive line figures it out. But as we sit here right now in Week 7, it's not good enough.
The offensive line for the Bucs is terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Well, and remember, too, we got to remember, in preseason, they were dropping like flies from Wirfs on down the line. I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses, but we did talk about this early in the preseason. This would affect a quarterback that can't run in Tom Brady.
All right, let's go to one veteran quarterback to another. Let's go to the Packers. I mean, let's go. Aaron Rodgers, a QBR of 48.9 against the Commanders. Commanders with a backup quarterback, Carson Wentz hurts. Commanders is a good football team, but there's no reason for this Packers team to lose this game. Aaron Jones had 8 carries for 23 rushing yards. I'm just confused on who this Packers team is trying to be. Because you go back in past years, they've always wanted to run the ball, be physical, let Aaron do his thing, and now you're slowly seeing this thing crumble, and I go back to who y'all draft and why y'all drafted. You drafted all these defensive players to try to make your defense some phenomenal defense, and it's not paying out. You have receivers. Allen Lazard is your best receiver. Hell, you might as well call me. I'm a free agent. At least I'll be a possession receiver. I'm just as good. No, probably not. I'm a little worse than Allen Lazard. You're wasting Aaron Rodgers. That's what you're doing. Back-to-back MVPs. Aaron Rodgers is not this bad. Now it gets to the point it looks like Aaron Rodgers is just trying to do everything for himself because I think you have a top-tier back in Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is a top-tier running back, and you're not using them effectively. It goes back to this, and you say the same thing about the Bucs. If you're not good up front in the NFL, it can only take you so far. If you're not good up front and you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, Tom Brady as your quarterback, hell, Hercules as your quarterback, you're not going to win enough games if you can't run the ball. It's just been nothing but a letdown watching this Packers team slowly crumble away, and it's not getting any better. It is slowly regressing, and I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. Hell, I feel bad watching it for Tom Brady. It's a little bit more for the Packers for me because I go back to the draft and who they drafted. It has been terrible over I don't know how many years. They've missed on miss on miss. Devontae Adams is gone now. Raiders are starting to look a little bit better. Just dropped 38, I believe, against the Texans. And your offense is it's so bad, and you can only blame yourself. They need to turn on the song Man in the Mirror because it's your fault.
Yeah, well, the offensive line, and people say, oh, well, how did the Bengals get to the Super Bowl last year? That offensive line put it together at the end, not from a pass pro standpoint, but from running the ball. And you could throw a slant to Jamar Chase and take it 80 yards. The Packers don't have Jamar Chase. Romeo Doubs is going to be a nice player. Romeo Doubs is going to end up being the best receiver you have on that roster. Randall Cobb's 235 years old. Hell, he was buying fireworks from Gandalf in the Shire 300 years ago. You've got Allen Lazard, like you said, who's a wide receiver 2, in my opinion. He's not a wide receiver 1. Christian Watson, the jury's still out on him. I mean, right now, your 2 best weapons, really catching the ball, is Robert Tonyan and Aaron Jones out of the backfield. Those are your 2 best weapons right now. I mean, you can say Dobbs maybe Dobbs, but he's still really young. He's got to show more consistency, which basically every rookie does. But I'm with you, Blaine. I mean, it's
bad.
They're like the guy from Split. One day they're Patricia, the next day they're
OBJ's just walking around out there.
Yeah,
just walking around.
We'll see if he clears his physical.
And it doesn't help that Aaron Rodgers isn't a mentor. Like, he doesn't mentor these guys. Aaron Rodgers is a guy. I'm a star. Put stars around me, and then we're going to go win.
Yeah.
Now, that can't be said for everyone. I mean, Baker Mayfield had all the weapons in the world in Cleveland. There's still a ceiling.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking around. I'm like, damn, man. The Rams added all these pieces. Man, the Niners are adding pieces left and right. They just picked up Christian McCaffrey. Can we pick up somebody to help me?
But I have seen quarterbacks like a Tom Brady get the most out of Wes Welker types and Julian Edelman.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But we've
Aaron
seen
Rodgers. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is the type who says, that's not my responsibility, right? Put the stars around me. I'm a star, and then we'll go win, right? He's not going to develop some of these young guys, which say what you want about that.
He learned from Brett Favre, man.
Do what?
He learned from Brett Favre.
He said Brett didn't welcome me.
No, that's exactly right. All right, let's get to our best and worst from college football. Then we'll go to the Booster Club and get into rapid fire. We got some Major League Baseball, some NBA, and some other stuff to hit as well. College football, my best is TCU staying undefeated. You know, Kansas State is kind of one of those roadblock teams. You know, we saw early they kind of derailed Oklahoma. Then obviously Dylan Gabriel goes out because of TCU down the road, ironically or not. You know, we talk about teams. We say, oh, man, this is just an offensive-heavy team. They're just going to have to outscore everybody. And I know that there have been some pretty high scores. Even the game with K-State was somewhat high-scoring. But Adrian Martinez has been on fire. He gets hurt. Will Howard came in and did a nice job for Kansas State. I thought Deuce Vaughn didn't eclipse the 100-yard mark. But this TCU team has so much fight in them, and there's no quit. They went down 24-7 to Oklahoma State at home because what have we seen from TCU in the past? TCU has been the Mississippi State of the Big 12. They'd win a couple games that they're not supposed to, then they'd lose a couple games that they're not supposed to. The one thing they couldn't show is consistency throughout a year, and we're seeing Mississippi State kind of regress back to that a little bit. I know they just went and played Bama, but go see them against Kentucky. It's that Mike Leach up and down roller coaster ride, and we typically see that from TCU with Gary Patterson. They'd go beat an Oklahoma, then they'd lose to some Texas Tech by 20. It'd be something like that. But this TCU team is different, and they've got the perfect recipe. The defense, I think, is good enough. It's not elite, but it's good enough in spurts to be able to cover for the offense some if they're not clicking on all cylinders. You have an experienced quarterback that still has things to prove in Max Duggan. He's been there. He understands it. No moment will be big. He can run it. He can throw it. He understands offense. You have an elite wide receiver core. I would say TCU, Ohio State, you could throw a couple other teams in there, have elite receiver core. And you are able to win in multiple ways. And you have one now coming back at home on the road, and you showed guts. I think TCU has the recipe. It's going to be a fist fight here at the end. I think they still got to go, to Texas. You've got a couple other big guys. I believe you got to go to Baylor maybe left on the end of that schedule. But I'm telling you, man, I keep getting impressed more and more each week by TCU because they keep proving everybody wrong each week. And there is a new kind of swag, call it the Sonny Dykes swag at TCU. Consistency.
How about the Oregon Ducks?
Man.
45-30 over UCLA. This is a good UCLA team, man. Bo Nix, 22 for 28, 283 through the air, 5 touchdowns. How many interceptions, Blaine? 0 interceptions. And even more impressively, Oregon rushed for 262. And it was between the tackles. They said, oh, y'all have Zach Charbonnet. You're good at running the football. Hey, watch this. Watch this. I mean, look, here's the schedule for Oregon coming up, like I told you guys yesterday.
Home games.
Cal and then Colorado. Okay, those are your 2 road games. Those are nice road games to have. And then the last 3 of the year. Washington, good football team. Utah, but you get them at home. And then at Oregon State.
Yeah.
That Oregon State
game is the one that worries me more than
anything. I think that's what I think.
Even though Washington, it can
get weird.
It can get weird with Penix.
Look, I'm going to give this team my best for college is the South Carolina Gamecocks, baby.
Ooh.
Big win versus A&M. I believe they're 4-2 right now.
5-2.
5-2 right now. And the way they're winning games, they're playing defense and run the ball. Spencer Rattler's not lighting up the stat sheet, but he's kind of somewhat playing it. He's falling into this offense, learning the identity of this offense, and I love South Carolina, in my opinion, is the second biggest delusional fan base in college football. First is Auburn, for sure, for some reason. If South Carolina starts believing, people better watch out. Because Beamer's got the swag. He's in the locker room dancing with the guys. He's recruiting what? He's recruiting well. And they're beating teams that if they beat a good Kentucky team. 24-14.
Okay.
That's fine. You didn't have a quarterback. Hell, I mean, what can you do? South Carolina, that's not your fault. You win the damn game. Then you beat a Texas A&M team when they're paying Jimbo Fisher half a Saturn and Jupiter and some new jets from the defense ministry. Hell, I don't know. And Beamer's only going to get what? It's only going to get better. Better from here. South Carolina, a team to watch out for. They're dangerous, fellas.
Yeah, and I had South Carolina being one of the teams in the SEC that struggled, and we still got a long way to go. But they have Missouri and then Vanderbilt. There's always a team or two every year that catches most of the breaks. South Carolina has just caught in a lot of breaks. You got to give them credit; they're taking advantage of it. You go to Kentucky. Will Levis doesn't play. Kentucky's backup quarterback, it's like this cup right here, all right, and not Cooper Cup. All right. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. We've seen Kentucky have to be methodical even with Will Levis. You come in first play of the game, Kentucky tries to reverse, fumbles it. South Carolina's able to get a lead, let Kentucky beat themselves and hang on and win that game. Then you play a Texas A&M team, obviously with Haynes King, who got benched, and I'm going to get to Texas A&M in a second. You score 17 points in the first quarter. You run the opening kickback because Texas A&M's softer than well water on a broken branch, and then you have the turnovers. Haynes King throws basically the pick six. He tried to throw it literally from one sideline to the other sideline on a comeback, didn't work. But you made those plays. You held on and you won. You've got a Missouri team, which I'm sure something will happen to the Missouri quarterback. He'll, slip on a banana peel walking to class or something. They'll play the backup there. And then you got a Vandy team that you should beat. So South Carolina right now, it's looking at worst like 7-5 because the back end of that schedule, outside of Missouri and Vanderbilt, I know you go to Clemson. Blaine, who else do they got on there?
Let me check it out. It's not good. It's not. I'm pretty sure they have Georgia.
No, they already lost to Georgia.
Already lost to Georgia.
They got Tennessee at home.
You
go
might
to
be
Florida, and then you got
okay, you go to Clemson, you have Tennessee at home, you go to Florida, you go to Van, you have Missouri at home.
Yeah. So you beat Missouri. It's looking like a 7-win season, but I'm with you, Blaine, and I said this at the beginning of the year. So I told South Carolina fans, don't panic if you do go 5-7, or if you do go 2-6 in the SEC. This is as bad as the personnel will ever be from South Carolina. They've happened to catch some breaks, and they've happened to win some games. But my worst is Haynes King's throwing motion. And it's easy to pile on A&M because, when you do the things that A&M has done, you set yourself a high standard, and if you fall short, you're going to get made fun of, and they've fallen short a lot. But Haynes King has maybe the worst throwing motion of any Division I quarterback that I've seen this year, and that I can remember in a while. People say, oh, well, Phillip Rivers had a weird motion. Yeah, but Phillip Rivers was getting the ball out quick. Yeah, it was 3 quarters, but the ball was getting out quick, and it was going where it was supposed to. Haynes King literally is like when two people from Mortal Kombat are about to fight when he throws. Like he's got a deep front leg, so he's crouched, and then he's got the ball 6 feet above his head. It just doesn't. If you've ever thrown a ball, or you've watched football, or you've watched quarterbacks, name another quarterback that throws like Haynes King. It looks like I'm watching a 3A high school quarterback play football. It's not like I'm watching a Division I high-level Texas A&M style quarterback. This guy's motion is terrible. Cone, it's terrible. I don't know how, and I can tell he's nervous when he throws. I can tell he's still nervous when he throws. But legitimately, any quarterback guru out there, and you don't even have to be a quarterback guru, watch Haynes King throw. Haynes King's throwing motion is a microcosm of Texas A&M's football program right now.
That's pretty funny.
5-star talent, 2-star execution.
I'll say unorthodox. How about that? It's unorthodox.
Okay, well, it's not a religion.
It's kind of like,
or is it?
It's kind of like a golf swing. Like if you were to watch Jim Furyk, when he swings the golf club, if he were terrible at golf, all his buddies would be like, "Of course you're terrible. Look at your golf swing." But he's great.
I will say though, you don't have 6'5", 300-pounders running at Jim Furyk.
That is true. It's not a live ball.
It's not a timing.
Yeah.
It's not a timing.
Matthew Wolf swings terrible.
But he's right.
Or
it's not a live ball situation. So I understand that. My worst from college football this weekend was Syracuse in the second half. And I don't want to pile on Syracuse, but it's because they played so well, not only in the first half, but all season so far. If that hadn't been the case and you just played a bad football game the entire time, well, you know what? You lost at Clemson. Add your name to the list. There's been 38 in a row now. But it was the second half to me. In the first half of the football game, everything was working for Syracuse on both sides of the football.
And they were catching breaks. Clemson
they were catching breaks.
Mistakes.
Created 4 turnovers on defense. They were stopping Clemson on 4th down. They had a defensive touchdown. The rush 3, drop 8 was even working sometimes. So in the second, and on the offensive side of the ball, Garrett Schrader with his feet, design Q power was working. The zone read, and then even when he would drop back, and nothing was there, he was able to beat Clemson on the scramble. So every way that he could win with his legs, he was doing so in the first half.
Yeah, well, if you see Clemson too offensively, Syracuse was so schizophrenic on the defensive line, they'd get pushed back 5 yards and give up a 9-yard run, then be in the backfield the next 3 plays. So everything was going the way that Syracuse needed it to go to be able to pull off that upset. That's what hurts the most. If you're a Syracuse fan, to me, and as a coach, like going back and watching the film, you're like, they played exactly like how we hoped they would play, and we didn't make good on it at the end. That's the stuff that keeps you.
And Cade Klubnik didn't come in and beat you. It's not like Clemson made a quarterback change and this kid came in and threw for 250 in the second half. What was it? What was his? It was
he had like 19 passing yards.
He did have the 2-point conversion was a great play. Elusive, bang, hit the dig in the back of the end zone. It was a great football play. I've seen DJ Uiagalelei make that play though. I think that Clemson could have won this game with him still in the football game had Syracuse played that poorly. And so Cade didn't come in and beat you, and to me, the referees didn't beat you. Now, the late hit on Garrett Schrader out of bounds, that was a missed call. Yeah. That was a missed call, but it wasn't the referee.
That game wasn't decided by that play.
In the second half, 7 possessions, 6 punts, and an interception.
You're up 21-10 at halftime. Clemson gets the ball coming out. You hold them to a punt. You're up 21-10. With the ball in the third quarter, you had all your chances. You cannot blame it on one call that didn't go your way.
They're still 6-1. They're 6-1. Dino Davis has gone from your house money. House money on the road at Clemson.
Who would have thought we'd have been sitting here, week 8 or 9 at the beginning of the year going, you know what? Syracuse blew their shot to stay undefeated and beat Clemson on the road. Who would have thought that? But that's why college football is great. Speaking of great, Blaine, what's the club saying?
I'm going to do my bad real quick from college, but I appreciate it. No, I didn't.
Well, that's my bad.
It is. It's okay. I forgive you. Trust tree. I'm going to do Miami. Post Malone, you're falling apart. Ooh. You're bad right now. If you'd have looked me in the eyes and said the Duke Blue Devils are first
Duke, Kansas,
routing you by 20, running in the end zone, throwing up the U and breaking it over their knee. Oh my God, take a seat on the couch. Let's talk about your feelings. I know it's bad right now, but hey, you're getting facilities built. Yep. Mario Cristobal is going to fix everything. We'll see. You got to take I guess you're taking your little bruises before everything gets better, but you're getting out here embarrassed by Duke. This isn't basketball. Coach K's not out here calling
Jim Larinaga wouldn't even go down like that.
I don't care who's there. It's Duke.
I watched Miami slap Auburn around in the NCAA.
Yeah, but it's Auburn. Auburn's just kind of lately been relevant in basketball. All of a sudden, Duke's been relevant in football in the 1800s.
No, Steve Spurrier won the Heisman.
They're breaking the U over
That's
their
why when he's
knee
in the
end zone.
Like if you notice in the Heisman House commercial, Steve Spurrier has like a blend of a Duke and Florida jersey. Like if you look,
I never noticed that.
Go look next time. You know the one they have where like Devontae Smith's running around intercepting everything, and look at the Duke Florida colored jersey that Steve, because they're like, Steve, you won the Heisman at Duke. Let's put you in the Duke jersey. He's like, nah, man, put me in the Florida one. All right, can you combine them? What about Fluke University?
All right.
By the way, Pat McAfee and them did a Lou Holtz impression thing. Mine was way better. Go ahead, the booster.
Look, I like Pat McAfee, but I watched them. They did a little thing on ESPN too. Is there a Florida State Clemson game? They did like a live watching of the show. I've never been.
Bama.
No, it's Florida State Clemson.
Well,
they did one Mississippi State Bama.
Okay, I didn't watch that one. I watched the Florida State Clemson one, and it was terrible.
Okay, I thought it was only me because the Bama one. I was like, I can't watch it.
It was bad. It was bad. You know what? I would watch us three do that though, for sure.
For sure.
Let's go to Roach at $9.99.
Oh, hit the button, David.
And he says, I know it was earlier in the show, but I'm a huge fan of The Office, and Peacock is worth it to watch the Superfan episodes, which are about 40 minutes long for the first 5 seasons.
I'm down with that.
Maybe that's something my DVDs don't have.
Well, listen, Blu-ray, Green-ray, doesn't matter. Just get your raise
We got someone who's somewhat upset in the Booster Club.
What'd you do?
I did nothing. I guess
what did you do?
Past, he must have been upset about this. He must have watched a recent show. But Scott Boshier, I believe, Nebraska fan.
Oh, I understand why you're upset.
Yeah, pretty laughable to say nobody cares if Nebraska is good or not.
Get on him.
No,
get on him. No,
get on him. Get on him.
No, just wait.
We're on your side, Scott.
Yeah.
You said Scott?
Yeah.
We're on your side,
He's on your side, Scott. Coming from the Michigan State of the SEC, Auburn has always been little brother and historically irrelevant, so I'm glad you're on his side. At least Nebraska has a pass. Well, y'all might have a pass, but y'all don't have a future. Wait. I promise you that. Irrelevant? When's the last time y'all did anything ever? You're done.
Remember Eric Crouch running the triple option,
Y'all will never be good again. Ever since Huddle started, you just slowly faded away in the past. You're gone. It's gone forever, Aaron Hernandez.
Listen to that man.
Hashtag no one cares, bud. The only people who cares Nebraska. When's the hell? I remember an Auburn Auburn team that went to a national championship in 2014. It might have lost to Florida State.
2013, yeah. Well,
13.
yeah.
Then went to 2010 and won it. What have y'all done? You sat there and cried. And you're going to keep sitting there and cry because you keep missing on hires. You brought, oh, good boy. Oh, he's coach. He played here. He's going to fix us. You'll never be fixed. Even the guys from Holes can't come and fix y'all. And he can fix everything. But hey, it's okay. You're safe here. Just know that you're irrelevant. It's in the 70s.
Don't listen
80s.
to that man.
No
right
one cares anymore. College football doesn't care. They don't need y'all. And they never will again.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Number one, two things can be true at once. All right, I agree with you that Nebraska, from a loyalty standpoint and fan base standpoint, is massive. They're a huge brand of football. They sell out games when they've been losing, which has seemed like it's been forever now. So I'm with you. I think a good Nebraska is great for college football. I've coached in the state of Iowa. I know how much they care about Nebraska. Okay, I've seen it. I understand. I've coached at Lincoln when Riley was there. We went and played him at South Alabama. It was the craziest experience ever because they were telling us how good we were doing. It was like a reverse psychology thing there. But let's be honest, man. If you're going to compare Nebraska to Auburn, let's really look at it. When's Nebraska's last national championship? When's their last national championship appearance? When's their last conference championship? When's their last Heisman winners? Eric Crouch, right?
Eric Crouch won in 2001.
Eric Crouch won in 2001. So Auburn played the national championship in 2013, won a national championship in 2010, went undefeated in 2004, had a Heisman winner, has won the conference, has won their division, hasn't ran away from the conference like Nebraska ran away from the Big 12 into the Big 10. They ran, and now they're going to try and run back because it hasn't worked out. So what I would say, Scott, is I understand, my friend, that you're upset that Nebraska hasn't been good. I want Nebraska to be good and relevant. You want Nebraska to be good and relevant. I know it's got to hurt looking at Kansas over there, being more relevant than you guys, watching the dumpster fire it's turned into. Scott Frost was supposed to be your Sam Wise, but turns out he was just Boromir. I understand you're frustrated, but taking your frustrations out on a program that has accomplished more than you in the last 30 years isn't going to make you feel better, Scott. Show me on the doll where Auburn touched you.
Well, I wouldn't say the last 30 years, though.
Huh?
I wouldn't say the last 30 years. Nebraska was balling in the 90s. I think.
Okay, so it's 2022. Titles. When's their last national championship?
97.
97. So let me say last 25 years.
Okay.
2022. What has Nebraska done in 25 years? Compare Auburn and compare Nebraska. Compare Michigan State and compare Auburn. Michigan State went to the playoff, I believe. No, they didn't. That was Washington.
Michigan State
did, and they got absolutely destroyed by Bama, a team that Auburn's beaten more than anybody. So, Scott, you can be upset, but let's not lose our minds here, okay?
I'm just sick of just crying all the time.
Well, I can understand why Nebraska fans are upset. When you care about something so much in your identity, Nebraska's identity is not tied to baseball. It's not tied to basketball. It's had to be tied to women's volleyball. That's what Nebraska is right now. They're a women's volleyball school. Fred Hoiberg is an absolute disaster at Nebraska, and they paid him half the money, half the gold in the vault. The football program has been a disaster since y'all moved away from Frank Solich and then Bo Pelini. I mean, let's be realistic. Nebraska needs to be good. I want them to be good. But Scott, I can understand why you're upset. Your whole identity of the program is tied to football. That's what you're supposed to be the best at, but you're the worst at it. I can understand why you're upset.
Bo Pelini was hired in 2008. He had 3 10-win seasons. This is at the exact same time that Nebraska went from the Big 12 to the Big 10. Bo Pelini won 4 bowl games. And then he was fired in 2014. He won 9 games that year, back-to-back.
Tried to find a prettier-looking girl, and you realized you were uglier than you thought.
And this just shows you 2 bad hires in a row with Mike Riley and Scott Frost, even though Scott Frost, I understand why you wanted Scott Frost, right? Undefeated at UCF, played quarterback at that's his alma mater, played quarterback at Nebraska, but there just wasn't a large enough sample size, I don't believe, as a head coach, and now it hasn't worked out. So, but if they get this hire right, I don't think it's not too late for Nebraska to
It's never going to be too late for Nebraska when you care about football that much and you poured that much money into facilities and resources, because geography, while it matters somewhat, it is not the final end-all, be-all like it used to be in college football anymore. Blaine, real quick, we're going to get to rapid fire.
Okay, let's go to Flaming Dragon's ankles. What a handle. It says, Heupel made Frost a very rich man.
Yeah, he did. And now Heupel's showing you who's the better coach.
Let's go to Ryan Gade, $5 donation. That Bryce Harper home run was worth every penny of that $330 million.
Look, I'm just glad the man's living up to the hype in the postseason. I'm glad to see that from Bryce.
All right, let's go to Texas Ed. Says, ever since Tom Osborne stopped coaching, they tried to modernize the offense. Nebraska is irrelevant.
From a winning standpoint, they have been irrelevant, but not from a fan base and loyalty standpoint. That's going to be their saving grace. Tennessee didn't quit. Tennessee fans kept showing up, and now they're finally getting rewarded. Georgia fans didn't quit after 40 years of not winning anything, watching Auburn and Alabama and Florida and LSU win it, and they finally do it. A&M, kind of in the same boat, hoping to get out of it. I still feel like the trajectory for A&M is better than Nebraska's.
All right, Travis Elrod says, Blaine is crying. Is talking about crying. I want to hear him talk about the Yankees. Oh, yes. You will.
Yeah.
You will for sure. I promise you that. JJ says, nice diss, Jake. Well done on that. Let's go to Troy Jacobs. Says, Nebraska already took an Oregon State coach, and he fell straight on his face.
Yep.
Let's go to, God, we're just rapid firing over here, huh? I don't think I can read fast enough for this. Let's go to Nola P. Says, Syracuse looked great. They couldn't play with the lead. They looked defeated with Clemson, came back to make it close. I just feel like Clemson was a team that you saw has been there before. I mean, Syracuse
last week.
Really hadn't been in that position before of coming back. I mean, Clemson's won big games, especially with Dabo Swinney. Let's go to Manuel C. Hashtag Ask Crane Company. Do you see Aaron Judge actually signing the San Francisco Giants and trade playing for Aaron Boone for playing with Gabe Kapler?
All right. Let's go ahead and go into rapid fire.
Let's do it. Major League Baseball. Let's talk about Bryce Harper. So the Phillies made the World Series, boys. He hit 5 home runs in the postseason so far. They're set to play the Astros in Houston Friday.
You know, we about halfway through the season, we were talking about Bryce Harper. And we talked about him being, you know, he was going to be the LeBron of baseball, and he has had a good career. It hasn't been what a lot of people thought it was going to be because of the postseason. Hadn't had that postseason moment. We've seen him go from team to team to team. He is having his moment. And look, he's won MVPs. We know that. We know his career numbers. He's had some good years. But to me, this is the best of Bryce Harper. And you know what Bryce Harper isn't doing? Being a distraction in the locker room. Being a distraction off the field, talking about himself 24/7. It looks to me like Bryce Harper has grown up so much, and he is reaping the rewards of that right now. It's a great story. Do I think the Phillies are going to win the World Series? I don't, but it's good to see Bryce Harper come through in the clutch with what he was coming out when he went to JUCO and then went straight to the draft. It's good to see for the Phillies, even though, again, NL East, I just want the Braves to win it. It's nice there is some NL East representation, and, you know, it's not the Mets. So we got that as well.
Yankees, clean sweep, Blaine.
Here we go.
Floor's yours. All right. Okay, first, I'm going to start off by saying this. I want the Yankees Twitter, all right, to come out with a formal apology for what they snipped from what I said. First of all, you're a coward for doing that. You try to CNN me, and this is exactly what I said. You can go back and watch that segment, that the Yankees needed to go get more before the trade deadline. In the postseason, when it matters, you're going to need more. But no, you snipped it and sounded like I was just hating on the Yankees, a team that I picked to win the World Series. One, if you have any salt about you, if you're not a coward, if you have any manly, just walk around with any pelotas or cojones or what you have, I want an apology, because what I said turned out to be what? Right, you get swept, embarrassed.
5 straight ALCS losses.
Embarrassed by Houston because you didn't go make a decision to spend the money that you already had. So I'll be waiting, and I will come on this show every day. I don't care if college football is at its highest peak. Everyone's loving it. Boom, everyone's watching it. I will come on this show every day and wait for this apology, because what you did, you see it in me, you took a clip that wasn't true and tried to make it look bad, and it completely flipped it around on you, and I was 100% right. So trust me, bud, you want to talk about consistency? I'll be the most consistent person you have ever seen, and I can't wait. I want a written apology, and I want you to put a video out about how right I was, because you're a coward for doing that. You think you can hurt me, buddy? I'm dead inside. Good luck. I want it, and I'll be waiting. I will come on this show every day. Every day. And you're watching it, obviously, if you're going to clip that. So clip this, put it on there, and I'll be waiting, Yankees Twitter. I will be waiting.
Boom.
What does CNN me mean?
Well, I mean, it's propaganda. That's what it is. it's legitimate propaganda.
It's where they take a quote of what you said out of context and make it seem like you said something else. But the most ironical part is, if that was one part of Blaine's argument against the Yankees not having success, that would be one thing. That's not CNN in you. What CNN in you is when you say something like, the Yankees are going to win the World Series, But I picked the Yankees to win the World Series, but I feel like they should have done more in the trade line. So I'm sorry, not sorry, whatever. They took that clip and made it seem like Blaine said the Yankees weren't going to win anything. Y'all CNN'd them. Mm-hmm. Y'all did it. I sat right here. Y'all did it. Shame on you guys. Yeah. Shame on you guys. But y'all are the same people who voted for de Blasio, so it really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, the words of Major Payne, who's the dummy now?
I was just thinking that. That's so weird. You're so my brother. Just ridiculous. All right, I got Yankees beat, or the Astros beating the Phils in 5.
In 5?
In 5.
In 5?
Yeah, Gleyber Torres, huge error yesterday on the flip on the double play. Story, Pena hits the 3-run tank.
They're not even cheating and you get swept. They're not even hitting trash cans in the dugout and you get swept. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Dolphins-Steelers Sunday night game. Your quick thoughts.
Two is back. You know, the Steelers, again, punching above their weight. I like Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett, man. Najee Harris, it's going to be from him. I like Kenny Pickett. He just got a little bit of, he's got a little bit of, he's got to get his feet wet. They threw him into the fire. I think Kenny Pickett's going to end up being fine. I was very surprised that the Steelers' defense came out the way they did up front. I know they've been beat up back in the secondary, but the Dolphins, Mostert was running like a madman early. The play action was working. Tua was getting the ball out. Not the most exciting game of all time, but it was just good to see Tua back out there healthy. It's his decision, continue to play after that terrible concussion. But look, the Dolphins, they're a fun team. I expected more points. That's why I didn't bet on that game, though.
Think you saw last night, offensive-minded coach against a defensive-minded coach. Tua came back. Mike McDaniel scripted those first dozen plays, right? That's when the Dolphins had their most success. After everything went off script, no one scored in the second half, and they did just enough to be able to hold that lead. So, Dolphins.
If you're a Steelers fan, I think you should be somewhat excited at what you're looking at. Yeah. Kenny Pickett. You go back to Kenny Pickett in college, people appreciate him, but I don't know if he got enough appreciation. This dude was cold in college. Absolutely cold.
Yeah, dude, he went on the road and beat Tennessee. Now, people forget that.
Kenny was cold in college, and there's a lot of big names when Kenny was in there, so I don't think he got enough attention than he should have. But the future for the Steelers is bright because you know what? It's built on what? Defense. Mike Tomlin builds that on defense, Pickens, and you're young.
Najee, Kenny.
Chase Claypool. You got
I like Freiermuth at tight end.
Yeah, and your O-line's not bad. They're only going to get better. I just think that you should have made this decision earlier in the quarterback room to put Pickett out there and not Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I think we can go back and forth on when they should have put him out. I just think that they're in a good situation right now.
All right, so Adam Silver came out and said they're investigating some tanking issues.
Yeah,
he's taking it very seriously. What do you got?
Well, you have that unicorn dinosaur brontosaurus Wembayama coming in, the 7'4" French European whatever guard. They basically created him in a laboratory. He's the guy on 2K where you have to get like 3 cards to be able to make a person that big.
Yeah.
You went and talked to the Suns, obviously, and tanking's an issue in sports. We know that in professional sports. And they've tried to mess around with the lottery and do things like that to try and downplay a little bit or keep tanking from going on. I don't know if you could ever really stop it, but there's one way to stop it. And Adam Silver brought this up. Now, I don't know if it's feasible to do in the NBA, but relegation, Cone. He's talking about doing relegation like they do in European soccer, where if you don't do well enough, they put you into the G League for a year or something like that. That was actually said by Adam Silver. Now, he talked about how tough of a feasibility and logistical problem and the things that brings up, it makes it tougher. But I think it's a very, very interesting idea because, look, people are going to try and tank for this guy. Like that, they're going to. You don't see this a lot.
I don't mind tanking, to be honest. I don't mind. Why not? You want the best player.
It goes against everything that.
Just tank.
Editor.
You want the best players, just tank. If you're not good, just tank.
Getting the best player doesn't always guarantee you success, though. I've heard,
you're going to be better.
Heard tanking for Tua for years. He ended up going 5th.
That is true. Draft. I forgot about the tanking.
I don't think you should ever tank for a left-handed quarterback, to be honest.
Coming from a wide receiver.
It's weird.
Spin's different.
It's just not the same. #hit's different.
Speaking about not the same, it's going to be basically the same. But if you want to watch the rest of this episode, remember, you can listen here. Head over to Daily Wire Plus, become a member, or listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with all your friends. We're going to be right back. Fantasy, bets, Booster Club, everything else that we could possibly do in this amount of time. We'll be right back. Appreciate you sticking with us. Blaine, Booster Club.
Colleen, Troy Jacobs with the $4.99
the button, David.
Donation. Appreciate it, Troy. Says, here's my question. Should I keep the game day sign for future game day or send it into the CNC set or try to get it signed by the Daily Wire staff?
Oh, I do want to give a shout out to Troy. We were going to show this on the show tomorrow. Troy and them made a Crane & Company game day sign that got on TV.
Love it.
You'll love to see it. We want as many game day signs as possible. Here's what we'll do, Troy. We're going to talk about this. And right after the show, we'll shoot you a DM on Twitter what we want to do with it, want to see what you think about it. But really appreciate that, my friend, from everybody here, everybody in the control room as well. It's a good look, bud.
All right, let's go to Sad Fins fan. Hashtag ask Crane & Company. How do you feel about Tua lowering his helmet twice? It kind of goes back to, does the offensive player ever get called for targeting?
I feel like if an offensive player lowers the crown of their helmet, it should be offensive targeting. They're never going to call it, though. It looks like they're never going to call it. My thing with Tua is more of the endangerment part of it. If I'm Tua, after what happened, and I'm sure after what his family told him, after how bad that looked, you got to slide, dog. You got to slide. Nobody is questioning your toughness. Nobody's questioning your toughness. You're one of the toughest quarterbacks that I've seen, going all the way back to Alabama when they had to put a rope through your ankle or shin or whatever that was. Tua has played through more injuries than just about anybody. And not just, oh, I sprained my knee or, oh, I chipped a nail. No, catastrophic injury, hips, ankles. Like I said, Tua's a walking head, shoulders, knees and toes song when it comes to injuries. You got to slide. You got to protect yourself because we've seen what the Dolphins are when you're not in there and when you are in there. Especially early in that game against Pittsburgh, you could see when the Dolphins are cooking, run game, quick game, run game, quick game, shot, quick game, run game. They're able to mix it up and protect Tua, but you can't go headfirst into defenders anymore, man. You were never at that point, but you're past that point. Nobody's questioning your toughness.
All right, let's go to Mike RFF Lifestyle. Hashtag Ask Crane & Company says, you guys ready to analyze the game of the week? Bears versus Patriots tonight.
It's a great, you know what? I'm going to head over while we're doing that. My foot has fallen asleep during the show. I was going to get up here and play it off, but if I fell down.
Take your time.
Is it asleep?
Yeah, but the right one's
Should I walk you
absolutely
over there?
asleep. Yeah. No, I don't need you to Will
like
Rogers.
Will Rogers? Oh, we have that clip too.
Yeah, we actually have a video of Will Rogers walking Nick Saban into the stadium. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
I thought that was Brian Kelly.
No, it's definitely Will Rogers. Yeah, there he is walking Saban into the stadium. But no, in all actuality, if you're on audio, Will Rogers is walking in, or walking out, or was that into the game, Cone?
No, it was after the game.
After the game.
He already took a loss, man. He's walking the
yeah, I'm going to
staff.
put this into perspective. You have some guys like Elijah Moore, right? Then you have some guys like Will Rogers. After you lost a tough game to Bama, the season's kind of going downhill a little bit. You still have the time to walk an event staff member for the Crimson Tide, an older woman, outside. I just thought it was a great look for Will Rogers. And guess what? You know, we'll talk about this now, but you know who else is going to see that? NFL scouts.
The one thing I will say about Elijah Moore is that he will get traded and probably start for another team.
Where's he going to go?
Plenty of teams out there don't have receivers.
So you're fine with him requesting a trade?
No, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm fine with it, but I'm sure the NFL owners or coaches who need receivers don't care.
I hope Elijah Moore ends up doing fine. I don't hate Elijah Moore. I'm not trying to say I think Elijah Moore is a terrible person, but this is a really bad look, and it's unbelievably selfish, especially for somebody who hasn't done anything in the NFL.
Well, if we start associating the NFL and morals, then we're going to go.
Well, no, that's not morals. That you play a team sport. Like the team culture is the thing. This isn't hurdles in the Olympics. Or no, you're not a pitcher from baseball, which is a team sport played by individuals. I think when you're talking about football and where the Jets are right now, trying to come back to prominence, this is a big deal. They were counting on Elijah Moore, and you didn't get a couple passes thrown your way while your team's winning. Go watch the DJU, and I know college and the NFL are different. Go watch DJU's press conference after Clemson won, after what he said about Cade Klubnik and how proud he was. He said, goal number one is for us to win, and that's what we did. Elijah Moore does not prescribe to that.
All right, let's go to Cody Nason, 95, 41-19 on the weekend for the bets, fellas.
Yeah, it was overall, it was a super hot weekend. Your boy went 10-2.
Hey.
It's RFF lifestyle.
Let's go to David Elon. What's up, David? He says, what's up from Saudi, guys?
Oh, be careful out there, dog.
If Arkansas loses to Auburn, does it say more about Sam than it does Harsin?
Yes, Auburn's bad.
Yeah.
Like Auburn's just bad. And I know Arkansas is beat up enough on defense where Auburn should be able to score some points. But Arkansas is a better team than Auburn is. You're going to Jordan-Hare. I'm telling you right now, Auburn fans will show up for that game, but deep down, we all know. We all know. I mean, at the end of the day, think about it right now. As an Auburn fan, you're struggling. Brian Harson's about to get fired, which is a good thing. You're watching Bo Nix, your ex-girl, go, get remarried to somebody who ended up, inventing some app that they made $15 million on, and they're living some crazy lifestyle in Orange County right now where you're sitting over here, just twiddling your thumbs, hoping you get enough kills on Call of Duty to
All right, let's go to
Mike again.
Let's go to Kyle Edwards, who said, hashtag Ask Crane Company, are the Detroit Lions forever cursed? I feel like this is a nightmare that isn't actually real. I think Detroit will be good in future.
Man, I want Dan Campbell to do good because I know he cares.
Okay, Bryce Young.
You
got Bryce Young.
Detroit, you get Bryce Young, Jamison Williams. Blaine, stop.
You got Bryce Young.
Blaine, stop.
You got J-Mo, DeAndre Swift, Hawkinson, Sun God. I mean, if anything, your defense might be bad, but your offense is going to be legit.
You got Aiden Hutchinson, young D lineman. There's some pieces over there.
There's one person
Bryce Young,
who can fix it.
Is Bryce Young going to be the Jackie Moon of Detroit?
I mean, if there's one person who can
slipped into something.
If there's one kid right now who can go fit and change a program in the NFL, it's Bryce Young. Bryce Young's the best I've seen in a long time, fellas.
Look.
The best, and he's probably not going to win the Heisman this year.
Hey, bring Elijah Moore. He'll
bring Elijah Moore.
But those 4 games, he's going to try hard.
That's all you need.
All right, one more, and then let's get to bets.
All right, I want this to be good then. Let's go to, we'll go to J-Mac Volunteer. Says Tennessee will run the table and go to the SEC championship game. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Looked at how their stats compare with the other teams in the SEC, and we are pretty solid. One thing I have to say that I'm worried about is the secondary and our pass rush.
Yes. Byron Young is a star. We know that. Here's my thing about stats, all right? Remember what we say about stats. They're like a good preview of a movie, a good trailer. They tell you a decent amount about it. They give you an idea, but they do not tell you the whole story. Tennessee plays good, and they have played good when it has mattered the most. That's what I think you take away. You're getting Cedric Tillman back. I know you've been beat up in the secondary, but having a secondary that is questionable with a pass rush that is somewhat underperforming is a very dangerous combination, because here's what I'll say. There is going to be 1 to 2 games left, all right? And I'm saying it could be during the regular season, it could be during the postseason, where the offense is not humming 100%, where you're not going to score 50 points, where that defense has to bail you out of that game. Are they good enough to do it? That's what we're going to see. You're not always going to score 52 points. All right, it's going to come to that moment, and we will find out about Tennessee's defense there. I still like Georgia at home, even though 11 points is a lot with the Tennessee offense right now. All right, speaking about a lot, don't expect a lot of points tonight. Another unbelievable primetime game, even though I will say Thursday, that Saints game, there's a lot of scoring.
Yeah, it was a lot better.
Saints-Cardinals game, there's a lot of scoring. This Monday, we have the Patriots and the Bears. All right, Mac Jones trying to get healthy again. Bailey Zappi looked really, really good last week. Just another young quarterback that's balled for the Patriots. I mean, you look at the last 4, it's been pretty impressive what they've been able to do. Then you look at the Bears, Justin Fields. Is he going to continue to grow in his progressions? And what I mean by growing in his progression, actually get to the second progression. Stop making up your mind where you're going to throw the ball before the ball snapped. It's like trying to make up your mind you're going to swing at the plate in baseball before the pitch is thrown. It's never a good idea. Typically doesn't work out. I expect this with Matt Patricia, former DC, now OC, and then you look at the Bears defense with some of the pieces that they have. I think Chicago's going to try and pound this ball, get Justin Field on the moves, find Darnell Mooney on crossers, and then try and pound it in with David Montgomery and Herbert. I think it's a low-scoring game, Cone. That's why I'm going Chicago plus 10. All right, we're going on the alternate line here. That's at minus 133. I feel like if they play about as bad as they can, they'll lose by 13. If they play okay, they'll lose by less than 10. So give me the Bears plus 10, minus 133. And guys, give me the alternate under at 39 for plus money. All right, this game really smells like a 19-10, 19-13 game. So give me the under 39 at plus 103, 48, 29, and 1 on the month, but woke up with a 0-0 mentality.
There you go. All right, I want the under 2. I'm going to take it at 43.5.
Okay.
That's at minus 179. And then I want a DraftKings head-to-head player matchup with Ramondre Stevenson out-rushing David Montgomery by 16 yards. So
Great
I have
hit on
Stevenson.
Jamar Chase, by the way.
Thank
you. Did you take the Jamar Chase over Drake London?
Yep.
Head-to-head. That was a great pick.
That was minus 29.5 yards on that one.
He smoked him.
I mean, I think Drake London had 9 yards receiving or something.
Jamar had 133.
Yeah.
You barely squeezed
It was a murder.
So Stevenson minus 15.5 rush yards against David Montgomery.
I love it. All right, this one I'm going to take first drive. Either team's going to be a punt.
That's the same.
Then I'm going to take the under at 41.5 and a Stevenson touchdown. It's going off at plus 257. I don't think a lot of points in this game. There will be some point that the Bears will probably do something in the red zone, holding pass interference, where the Pats will be at the 1, and we're going to play a little game, turn around, and hand it to Stevenson. Just not Damian Harris.
Well, Damian Harris coming back off the injuries in a game that's very winnable, I think, for the Patriots. I don't think you see him come in and get 30 carries. I think they're going to lean on Ramondre in that zone run. Baby Cone, he wants a Ramondre Stevenson anytime touchdown. That's at a dirty minus 130. And then he wants the Bears TTP under 15.5, which may sound really, really low, but if you've watched the Bears play and you know how Bill Belichick does with quarterbacks who don't get to their second read, I don't think that's crazy at all. Guys, we're 169 and 142 on the month. That's pretty freaking good.
Well done, fellas.
When you have 4 guys betting, and we take bets that sometimes go against each other, a la yesterday. Man, I tell you what, I think I've hit you know what? I don't even want to jinx myself.
No, say it.
Nope, not going to say it. Not going to say it. Booster Club, what's going on over there?
You already said it.
Nope. I actually haven't already.
You started, so basically said it.
No, I'm going to stop it.
I hate people who do stuff like that. All right.
Well, it's sad you hate me.
Just you do stuff like that, not you in general.
I hate you.
Okay, that's fine. You and Yankees Twitter have something in common. Let's go. Are you, kind of go back to earlier in the episode, team binge watch? You like binge watching show? Or a new episode every week type of guy?
Look, I get it. It's fun to binge watch. I like it too. If all of them were right there. When the House of Cards dropped for the first time, remember that was the first show when Netflix was just like, boom, House of Cards. You can watch all of them in one night. That's awesome. Sometimes it's not about what you want. It's about what you need. And sometimes what you need is discipline.
I love it,
and you need weekly. You need to know on Sunday night that the new Game of Thrones is going to come out.
Yeah.
And you get together with your friends and maybe you have a cookout and that sets the whole week. You know, that sets the tone. That's what you need. You need the weekly.
Or maybe you say like, hey, I'm going to come over to your house this weekend and watch some football. And then nobody shows up after I vacuum and clean the whole house.
Why did you do that, Blaine?
What? I wasn't in town this weekend.
You said you were going to come over yesterday.
No, I
and
did
you
not.
did too, David.
That is not true.
But I
understand yours because you have little human beings running around.
Probably running around is.
I was not in
Is he still in like his
around.
chair with the wheels on it going 100
It does not
miles?
stop. It does not stop.
That
it goes
your
everywhere.
son, I swear, is gonna be a NASCAR driver. I've never seen somebody operate turns at higher speeds that were
With those
dangerous
little-
than him. It's amazing. Like I've seen him like give way, like understand that like if I stop, I'll roll a little bit. It's absolutely amazing. You have no excuse.
I wasn't in town. I was 5 hours away.
Well,
I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you I was coming over.
Yes, you did.
That is not true.
Oh, okay.
That is not true. Lies.
It's lucky I didn't order
What
pizza
am I getting?
and sat there
Why
all
is
by
this
myself.
everyone trying to CNN me these days? I didn't even say
Yes,
that.
you
look
said that
like
in
a
our
server
private
at a
time.
restaurant with this thing.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't even say that.
When it comes to the poll, what did you pick?
What did I pick? What?
Did you pick percentage?
What I think? What the poll, David?
They probably said the binge watching, but I'm going to go weekly because that's what the Booster Club needs.
You know what? No, it's not. Sometimes it's what you need. And you know what I need? All the episodes there. Because I'm not watching one episode and waiting a week. Like, what is this?
Builds up the
1842?
tension. It builds up the tension, man. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I don't
Get
want to
together
build
with
up.
your
There's
friends.
enough things in my life building up tension, David. You know what I want to be able to do?
Then don't watch-
Turn
don't
on
watch
Netflix and say, oh, there's the new season. Not, hey, there's episode 3. Great. It's like having to wait 4 years in between the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, well, it's going to take us 8 years to make the next one.
That's a good poll.
So give me binge watch 53%.
All right, team binge watch 68.
Ooh!
They want it. They want it now.
That's JG
Every
Wentworth.
week. That's our society in a nutshell.
Oh, we have. Do you have something else over there? We
not
have
if
one
you
more
got
video to react to.
Yeah,
Which one?
Oh, the Flop Fest. Did you not see the
let's
Flop
play
Fest?
this.
What is this?
Look, I've got no problem with taking some of your acting abilities onto the field, but there's levels to it. Like we see in the NBA, the amount of flopping, it's ridiculous. This is what, like when kickers do this, you actually put kickers who are good at acting and actually do get destroyed in a bad light because it looks like they're faking. You would have thought this guy got sniped by Hawkeye or something. Let's go ahead and play the clip. So they're in field goal formation. You get a snap. Kick is clean. One guy barely whispers at his leg. And he goes down, and his last name's Leg. He goes down like somebody shot him from point blank range in the knee with a shotgun. West Virginia, listen. I can appreciate the effort.
You don't love that.
I can
love
appreciate
it.
that's bad.
It's a kicker.
That's bad.
You have the greatest
offensive lineman, dude, all the time.
You have the greatest name of a kicker of all time, leg. Not only leg, 2 G's.
First of all, Dick
leg
the
with
kicker
2
is
G's.
the best.
And you're going to get out there and act like if LeBron James and a soccer player had a baby, that's what it would be right there.
Offensive line, dude, all the time.
But offensive linemen, physical offensive linemen have
that makes it worse.
Every play.
That makes it worse.
No, it doesn't.
It's the kicker.
Like this.
He can do that. It's the kicker. We expect that from a kicker, not a 6'8", 340-pound right tackle.
If it works, it works. But I will say that was a little bit over the top. But speaking about kickers' names, his last name was Leg. We have Dicker the kicker from Texas. Pittsburgh's best kicker ever, last name was Blewett.
That is wild.
I think his name was Corey Blewett.
How do you spell it?
I think it was Blewittt. Can you look it up real quick?
I'm looking it up.
I want to say it was Corey Blewett. That was his last name.
He's just trying to get a penalty for his team. All right? That's all he's trying to do. He's trying to get the first down.
I swear.
I'll find it.
I swear it was Corey. It was Blewett. I swear he was with Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Chris. Hold on.
Chris Blewett.
Yeah, Chris Blewett.
Yeah.
Blewittt.
That's his name.
Chris
the kicker, and he
Blewett.
was good. And he was good, but man, if you ever missed a game winner, that one, you talk about the easiest headline to write the next day? Chris Blewett. Literally. Legitimately. But you won't blow it if you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow us on all social medias. And Yankees, send that apology video. You see an end.
Oh, no, yeah. Every day.
In front of God and everybody, you see an end.
Try to shoot me.
Yo, I'm an apology. I know you're licking your wounds right now, but when you do things like that, karma comes back and bites you around. So, like the chances of the Yankees making it past the ALCS, we're gone.